there's a lot of development in the cinematic universe of DC movies these days since it was decided to finally bring Batman and Superman on the big screen together. But they didn't stop there, as they also decided to cram in as many other superheroes as possible in an attempt to rush to a Justice League movie. The decision to speed through solo features leading to a team-up movie and the casting of these heroes has garnered a lot of controversy. Vincent and I felt that it'd be fun to sit down and have a discussion about all of this. The next episode we will dive into the new film, but first...
Me and Mike are going to talk about our personal backgrounds, these characters, and the franchises that they control.
I have a pretty big background with Batman, Superman, and comics in general. I've been a fan of comics ever since I could first look at a picture. Even before I could read, comics offered such visually rich storytelling that I could just follow along with it. I remember some of the very first comics that my dad got me, The Dark Knight Returns, and Batman the Killing Joke.
Oh, the Joker one.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
It's way too violent for a child to probably look through, because they pushed Batman into really mature, gritty, dark territory, and he could finally be taken seriously. Those two, along with Frank Miller's Batman Year One, have served as the biggest influences to Batman on the cinema screen. But I think the moment that really solidified my interest in the comic book world cinematically was most geeks from my generation, was Tim Burton's Batman.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, that, it just opens up a kid's head. It was so visceral and exciting, and I know a lot of adults at the time had issues with Michael Keaton being cast.
Oh, yeah. Tim Burton had to fight for him.
Oh, yeah, that's it. So maybe there's some parallels there a little bit with what we're going to be discussing later. I don't know if I saw Richard Donner's Superman before or after that, but Christopher Reeve was my Superman. I grew up with Christopher Reeve. He personified that character for me, and whenever I read a book afterwards, even though he's not as muscular as Superman's supposed to be, I always envisioned him, his voice, and his presence. We didn't have a lot of options with comic book movies in our childhood.
Well, most movie studios wanted to stay away from them. I mean, they had the rights to a lot of them, but they...
Well, they were thought to be silly.
Yeah.
They were thought to be silly comic strips. So, it took a while for people to really start appreciating them, and of course now they have their own subgenre.
The great thing about Tim Burton's Batman is the reason why the movie studios didn't want to do it. Because they're like, you want to do that Adam West show? And the producers and the people behind are like, no, we don't want to do that. We want to do it like it's in the comics. When Tim Burton, when they were putting the movie together, he took a copy of Frank Miller's The Dark Knight Returns, and he passed it around to all like the crew members for building the sets and stuff. And he said, this is what I want Gotham to look like. This is what I want Gotham to look like. He used that. So, And even going into the 90s, things, we had the TV series...
Batman the Animated Series.
Batman the Animated Series. Which
was my shit!
I love that. For me, when most people talk about their favorite Batman is, they're like, it's like Michael Keaton, some people Christian Bale. For me, it's a tie between Michael Keaton and the animated Batman, voiced by Kevin Conroy, because that series was so great, because it was a cartoon, but it wasn't just meant for kids. They had moments in that series that were fantastic. I mean, that series created Harley Quinn, who's now one of the most famous and beloved female comic book characters of the current age. People love Harley Quinn. How many times do you go to a convention? How many women do you see cosplay as Harley?
Kevin Conroy, though, absolutely, man. Like, like I said, Christopher Reeve is the voice of Superman in my head when I read a comic book. He is the voice of Batman for me when I read a comic book. I always hear Kevin Conroy. Yeah. He took what Michael Keaton started. Like, Michael Keaton started that kind of raspy voice, but Kevin Conroy just evolved it into perfection. I mean, so yeah, whenever I read or anything, I always think of Kevin Conroy.
And continuing on, I mean, the animated series, and then at the same time, on television, there was the Lois and Clark TV series with Dean Cain. And
I met him recently. Nice guy, really nice. Dean Cain is a super nice guy. I'm just gonna say it right now.
Yeah. And that was a cool series for me, too, because I was like, well, I mean, the movies are over. As a kid, I liked having a TV series to watch. I mean, albeit the TV series did a lot of things different. I mean, it focused more on their relationship. They had a lot of episodes, stuff that never, as far as I know, never happened in the comics. I mean,
it was pretty much a romantic comedy.
Yeah, it was a romantic comedy, but it was still cool. Dean Cain looked good in it. Special effects were, well, they were 90s. They were 90s TV special effects. Yeah, what can you do? Yeah. But then, we moved forward. I mean, we had the Smallville, great. That was so awesome. I liked the first season was so great because it was like they didn't bring a single, except for Luthor, they didn't bring in a single other supervillain. They were all just teenagers being mutated by kryptonite.
Yeah, but that got old after a while. That was like a plot device. Like, oh, it's a new meteor freak. Going into the second, third seasons, holy shit did that show get good. The third season especially, Michael Rosenbaum as Lex Luthor. Ooh! Mike Rosenbaum is the shit!
He really liked it. And he was also the Flash in Justice League. The animation.
Voice
of Flash in Justice League Unlimited, which was really cool. I mean, and I can agree. He made Lex Luthor really incredible because it was the first time where they tried to like make Lex. They try to make you somewhat sympathetic because they really go into a lot. Just like how the show is telling you how Clark Kent finally becomes Superman. They'll show Luthor becomes like this world class villain. And it was just a really great show. Of course, around the time when the series was going on, who comes in to revive Batman? But we got the Christopher Nolan films with Batman Begins, which I loved. Batman Begins. It blew me away how it was so different, which was good because you didn't want anything near the Schumacher films, which we're not even going to talk about that. We're not getting into that. That speaks for itself. I know Schumacher apologized, so I'll give him that. But anyway,
they sucked. That's basically what we're saying. I love Chris Nolan.
Yeah, no, Batman Begins was really great. It was a great start off to a new series.
I've read Batman pretty much my whole life, and that was the closest cinematically to who Batman is in the comics out of any film. If you read Frank Miller's Batman Year One, or even The Dark Knight Returns, I mean, they just nailed him from that kind of viewpoint of the character, like this gritty, dark, realistic world with a psychologically complex Batman. Another cool thing about this, they shed light on his origin story much more so than any other film or a lot of the comics have done before.
Yeah.
And that was sweet. The first film, I know there's some people that favor The Dark Knight, but the first film is the closest to who Batman is supposed to be out of any of the movies.
Yeah. I mean, the origin story in that one was just great. The origin story's been explored before in other media, like in the Batman animated series we're talking about, especially in Mask of the Phantasm. We get a great look at Bruce before he becomes Batman.
Moving into The Dark Knight, that's of course the favorite for people, I think. Everyone loves Heath Ledger as the Joker, and understandably so. He was fantastic. Nolan really kicked it up a notch and made it really big and epic. In so many ways, that movie changed the landscape of superhero films. And of course, you have The Dark Knight Rises with Brain, I will break you. A lot of people make fun of that one, and, there's some problems that started to form a little bit. A lot of people didn't like Christian Bale's Batman voice.
So that's what that feels like.
Yeah, the voice is weird, but I'm still a fan of Christian Bale.
Yeah.
But I still really love those movies, despite the flaws there in the last one or so. So we go through that, and while this is happening, Warner, of course, wants to get their engine running, so they attempt to revitalize Superman as well.
Superman Returns, which
Bryan Singer.
Yeah, which unfortunately did not turn out that well. And that was what was the big problem with the movie, in my opinion, was it was just trying to be too much like Donner's film. It was just trying to be. It was like there's a difference between being homage and like you're just copying too much. And I don't think any of the casting was bad. It's just I don't think they were really given the freedom to do it. I mean, Brandon Routh was doing it just like how Christopher Reeves did it.
Kevin Spacey.
I like Kevin Spacey.
I thought he was good. Yeah.
It was akin to how Hackman did it, but still, I felt a little bit of Spacey's spice in there.
Bryan Singer obviously was a huge fan of the Richard Donner films. He actually asked Richard Donner permission if he could make a Superman movie before he started making it. And it's weird because it's a sequel to the first two Superman movies. It's actually a sequel.
Right. They pretend the third and fourth one didn't happen, right?
Yeah, but at the same time, it's also remaking elements from the original film. So it's like this weird sequel remake. I don't know. It's like I didn't know what it was. Brandon Routh, he was cast because he had a slight. His appearance was similar to Christopher Reeve.
He got the same kind of jaw, and
and he did a great job playing Christopher Reeve's Superman. But I think that the audience really wanted something fresh and new.
Yeah, that's what I was expecting. Mike, I think we've come to the end of things. Do you have any closing thoughts you want to throw in?
Yeah, I think we'll close with reminding everybody to be sure to check out our next episode, a continuation of this one, where we will be discussing casting news, rumors, and speculation for Batman vs. Superman: Dawn of Justice. Catch you all next time.